Good morning. Good morning. Happy Monday. Good day to you guys. I hope you guys are having an amazing morning already. And I hope that your week goes extremely well. We have a lot to get into about retirement accounts and investments as well. And today I really want to dive into how to particularly really make sure that your retirement plans and accounts are actually fully diversified and you're not having to worry about anything. So with that today, as long as we can dive deep into everything here and get into it really quickly, I think we should be able to get in, learn a whole lot about investments or retirement accounts and understanding the proper blend and balance between them all. So we're going to get into all of that stuff today. And if you're excited and ready for that, let me know in the comments down below what you learned or like this podcast to share with anybody else that also needs to know about any of this information. I've also got a really nice, easy shortcut that I'm also going to show and provide as well. So that way you can easily remember and go to this whenever you need to as well. So that way you can be able to learn and remember all the stuff in a nice little shortcut that I kind of provide for you guys. Also, check out our blog, the Success Blueprint blog as well, where we dive into a lot of the same stuff, except on an analytical scale or on a personal scale as well. The blog isn't all about teaching about finance, just like really the podcast isn't all about teaching finance, but the podcast just so happened to kind of go down a financial route because of comments about finances not being taught. So I want to make sure that I teach the financial foundation pyramid, which we are at the top of the financial foundation pyramid. And I'm excited and ready to help you to learn and understand much more about the top portion of this pyramid, which should have the least priority for you. So I am looking forward to this morning. I'm looking forward to today. It should be a good jam-packed day. So let's just get right into it. Beautiful. All right. So as I've talked about before, we have been talking about some basic principles of money and just understanding good financial literacy. We've been doing this over the last maybe 10 episodes to some sort, maybe 8 to 10 episodes. So if you've missed all of this stuff where I've taught about a lot of these things to you guys, then definitely make sure you go backwards and learn about them. But today we are discussing the very top of this pyramid, which is the investment pyramid. Now, there's a lot when it comes to investments, and I'm not going to teach you all of the things. I am not securities licensed, so I will not be giving you securities advice. However, I will be helping you to understand what types of things are out there. So if you're specifically wanting securities, or if you specifically want advice about investments, you can definitely sit down with my firm. We do have securities licensed individuals in my firm, and that I also partner with. So I don't mind, obviously, like we can help your eyes out, but mostly if you want to know some very specific investment education, I will provide some resources for you as well. But we will be diving into a lot of the education part about it, so I can at least speak on facts. I will just not be giving advice, as most of the time I don't give advice on these podcasts anyway. I mostly just teach. So if you are looking for any kind of investment advice, once again, we do have securities professionals, and then I'll also provide some resources at the end of the episode today for you. So when it comes to investments or retirement planning, the most important thing that you need to understand is how to properly balance and diversify your assets, your accounts, and understanding the benefits and the drawbacks to them, and then also filling them in for the drawbacks. Unfortunately, too many people believe that one account is going to be enough, and that might be true. One account might pay you enough income in retirement, but when it comes to retirement planning and your future and growing your wealth, all that matters isn't just income. You've also got taxes, right? You've also got the fact that you can lose money to all types of things. The market, you can lose money to inflation. You can lose money to getting sick, right? There's a ton of things that you need to be looking out for. So you need to understand how to properly balance or across all across all accounts to make sure that you have the right accounts, taking care of the drawbacks of some with its benefits, if that makes sense. As an example, I'm going to help you to understand how to dissect your accounts today with the laser fund test. Now, a laser fund is actually a type of account, but the laser fund itself, I really like because it has a really good template for you to ask yourself questions to ensure that you're taking care of the downside to your accounts, right? And to make sure that you're covering all your basics. So when it comes to this, I'm actually going to put this here. Bam. All right, so this is the laser fund test. This is the laser fund test. Actually, no, I think I would do want to keep it here. Yes, this is the laser fund test, right? Now, you've got these 4 different questions, or excuse me, characteristics of all accounts. All accounts you can take through this test. So this is, when I call this a test, I'm meaning you want to ask yourself these 4 questions to make sure, or you want to essentially check mark it off. Check mark, does my account have this or does it not have this? Does it have a favorable characteristic of this or does it not? And whatever it does not have, you need to go find what does have those benefits. So today, we're going to start off with these questions. And I'm going to help you to understand the 4 of these. Draw on page. Beautiful. So today, the first thing you need to ask yourself about with the laser fund test is, are my accounts liquid? Are my accounts liquid? Liquidity is when you can put money in, take money out whenever you want to. There's no penalty. I've talked about this before. Can I access the money when I need it? Can you access it when needed? Right? So as an example, regular savings accounts, they have liquidity. You can put the money in, you can take the money out whenever you want to. There's no penalty, right? But in an account like a 401k, you cannot just access whenever you need it, right? Yes, you can take out a 401k loan. And also, if you do not know, with 401ks, you can borrow as a loan up to 50% of your account or max $50,000. Whichever one is smallest. So you can borrow up to 50% of your account or max 50K if you need to from your 401k. A lot of people don't know that, so I'm just throwing it out there. When you borrow, you actually borrow it as a loan to yourself, and you just pay it back over time, which is pretty cool. But it is not liquid, though. It is not liquid. So obviously, if you need money, this is why when it comes to financial foundation pyramid, we talk about liquidity for emergency funds. If you need something, you should be able to go to your emergency funds for it. So that way you don't have to take out of your investments or out of your retirement accounts or out of accounts that are performing really well this year, right? So that way you don't have to do that. So if you're looking for liquidity and like a retirement strategy, you might not necessarily find it, but if you need it, then at least you've got an account, right? So like a high yield savings account, as we talked about a few episodes ago. So that's liquidity. Can you put money in, take money out whenever you want to? There's no penalty. Another issue is, or another thing about liquidity is the fact that not all the time can you put as much money in as you want to. As an example, IRAs have a cap of how much you can put in every year, right? Now, every year they reevaluate and change it. And this year, off the top of my head, I believe it is $7,000. Off the top of my head, I'm going to actually be sure. Because it changes, and sometimes I think I'm in last year. Yep, $7,000 and $8,000 if you are 50 years old or older. So as I thought, but sometimes I think I'm still in last year or the year before. IRAs have a cap of $7,000 that you can put in per year, and then 401ks are going to be 23,500 this year. For the most part, it goes up basically with inflation to allow you to continue to put money in. And then same thing, you can put more in for if you are married or older as well. So those are the caps, which means that at some point you cannot put as much money in as you want to. Just for the record, now does everybody even max fund their 401ks or their IRAs? No, most people don't max fund their IRAs and their 401ks. And the downside to that is the fact that if your 401k does not perform well over your lifetime, then you won't have as much money as you'd like to have or as you need to have. Let me give you an example. If you actually, let's go to investor.gov. I've taught you guys a lot about investor.gov. Investor.gov, financial tools and calculators. Come on down to retirement ballpark estimate. Click on choose to save, and then always click OK. It's fine. It's the only way to get there. And then when you get here, we're gonna assume that you are just starting off working. You're 18 years old, and you've got 47 years to work. So we got no money already saved for retirement. What money will you need after retirement? Let's say that you want to have $80,000 or $120,000 a year after retirement. A lot of people say, I don't need that much money after retirement. Well, let's talk about inflation, right? That too. And then also let's talk about the fact that, yeah, you might not need that much money, but what can you do in retirement? You can go and do a lot of things in retirement. So that way you're not stale and crusty and sitting in your couch all day long. That's such a sad life to live. I don't care what we think. It's such a sad life to live, just to sit in your couch for the rest of your life and rot away. And this is also why people just say, I'd rather work. There are other things to do than sit on your couch and rot away and work. You can actually have a life and a personality and things you enjoy, things that define you. Take up some new hobby. Anyway, annual income you expect to receive from other sources. We're going to say zero because most people don't receive pensions nowadays. Will this income be taxed? If we're going fully 401k, then yes. Current age, 18. Retirement age, let's say 65. Withdraw until you are, I always go 100 just in case people make it to age 100. Inflation rate, good. Current tax rate, assume rate of return. We're going to go 7.5% for 401k and 401k and adjust deposits for inflation. So if you want $120,000 a year in retirement, that means you need to save $22,750 or $795 in your first year of savings and increase it by the inflation rate every year until you retire in order to reach the retirement goal that you want to have. In order to reach after tax $120,000, that's how much money you need to put in. You're going to end up putting in a total of, you're going to end up contributing a total of $2.5 million of inflation dollars or $1 million in today's dollars. At the start of retirement, you need to have $15 million in your account in order to have that retirement that you like. Now, if you want to look at how much money you need to put in every year, here we go. So it starts off here, and this should generally keep up with the pre-tax contributions for 401ks, especially since this is about $700 under the max right now. If this keeps up with inflation, then you should have enough space to continue to put this much in. But this is, once again, if you started almost max funding your retirement account at age 18, by the time you get to 65, By the time, I mean, when you're 64, you gotta put $106,000 into the account, right? But you can start taking out, what is it? What column is this? Oh, annual pre-tax income. Annual post-tax income. All right, so this is how much you have. Should be actually. Oh, okay. This is after inflation. This is after inflation. Yep. So this is the inflation dollars, right? This is the inflation dollar. This is how much you're going to take out, $770,000. But after taxes, you should have about $577,000 that you're actually going to take out in retirement this income year, which is the equivalent of $120,000 in today's dollars, leaving you, and this shows you your income continue to grow as you continue to take money out, and eventually it will start to dwindle down. So it's, first off, it's crazy because I sometimes I forget what this looks like, but this is the inflated number. This is the actual deflated number. So if you want to have $120,000 a year after tax and retirement dollars, you need to invest. You need to almost have started off investing at the start of retirement. Excuse me, at the start of work when you're 18 years old, in order to properly reach the amount of income that you want. And then you got taxes and inflation also weighing on that as well. But the downside to this is, what happens if you get sick? If all you got is your 401k and you get sick and you need Medicare or Medicaid, then in order to fund your Medicaid, they have to seize your assets. Anything more than one house, anything more than one car, they will seize, they'll take your retirement accounts as well to fund your Medicaid. So that way you can have more money for your Medicaid situation, for whatever your lifetime, whatever your lifetime is. All right. So liquidity, you can only put so much in, and then also you can only take so much out, and you can't always do it when you need to. But that's liquidity. Second is safety. Will it lose value in a downturn? And this can be a pretty generally easy question to ask yourself, right? Is it at risk to the market? If it is, you can lose money. And if it's not, you don't lose money. It's pretty simple. But just to give you 3 questions to ask yourself in this, because this can be, safety can be generally one of 3 different types of principles. So first, you have loss of principal. This is the loss of the money that you put in. Then you've got loss of growth. This is the money that has grown on top of your money. And then you've got loss of potential or opportunity costs, the cost of the opportunity it took. All right, so that's the money that you could have had. So as an example, if I've got $100 that I invest, and then the account performs at 50% this year, I've now got $150, right? Now, if the account performs at negative 50%, so it goes down, the likelihood of that is pretty crazy, but can it happen? Yes. If it goes down, you've now got $75. And then if it goes back up by 50%, you've now got $112.50. So what happened here? We had $100 is what we started off with, and we're now down to 75. We lost $25 of principal. So that's loss of principal. Loss of principal. Then also, we did have $50 of growth. $50 of growth, which we also lost. So we lost some of the growth. So you can look at that here, right? You can look at that here if you want to. But let's say that you didn't look at your account at all, like during this whole process, right? Let's say that you didn't look at your account at all during this process. and you ended up you put in 100 and then you ended up with $112. Would you be upset? No, my account's grown. But then you look at this and you're like, oh wait, I could have had $150. Dang, that sucks. Whatever, I guess it's the market. This is why people say invest long term, right? But then you've got, let's say you got $100 here plus 50% here, right? You've got $150. And then let's just say that the account, and this is an indexing, right? We talked about fixed variable index accounts. Let's say that the account then does 50%, but you've got an index account where your money takes no losses, right? Here you'll have still $150. And then let's say again that the account performs at 50%. Now you'll have $225 in your account. Now, in an index account, I'm going to be honest with you. You're not often, depending on types of index accounts you have, but you're not often going to see a 50% growth. You won't see that nearly as often as you could, the potential of it in certain variable accounts, right? But can it happen? Yes. Have I seen it happen personally? Yes. But will it happen as often? Likely not. So this will probably be something more like 10%, 20%, maybe 30, maybe 5. It could be, whatever the case, it just won't be lower than 0. And the likelihood that it'd be much, much higher, like crazy high, is very slim. But can it happen? Yeah. So in this case, you would have ended off with $225 versus $112. Versus $112. So if you had had your money in indexing strategies instead, then you would have had twice as much growth, or this is the loss of potential of what you could have had. Now, that's also obviously the risk that you take. So this is what I think. These are the 3 things I think about whenever I think about safety: loss of principal, growth, and potential. Next, rate of return. Obviously, rate of return is growing at a competitive rate. When it comes to rate of return, you want to get a good return on your money. This is super simple. You want to know how much it can grow on average over time. The worst thing about this is that most people, generally speaking, they don't often understand average rate of return. They don't understand internal rate of return. They don't typically understand a lot of how that goes. So I want to show you a nice little example. So let's say we've got this conventional thinking of, okay, my account has a 10% return. So in people's brains, naturally, especially a lot of financial professionals, they'll claim that the average rate of return will be 10% over a long period of time, right? So let's say you invest $100,000 into the S&P 500 and you expect a 10% return. You expect you to get 10% next year, 10% the following year, 10% the following year, so on and so forth. And then eventually you have a whole bunch of money. It's not how it actually works, which is why I wanted to show you this, right? But the reality about returns are that there's all types of other things, right? If we look at the returns, absent of your actual fees, your management fees, if you look at any returns, absent the management fees, the market is going up and down, right? Every year, it's going up and down every day, all the time. So you can see here that maybe this first year, actually back in 2000, you have a negative 12% year, right? And negative 10, negative 23, and then 26% year, right? Now here, the difference is that it took you went down 3 years. 3 years you were negative. And then you finally had a positive return. Obviously, that's a really good positive return, right? We know once the market rebounds, you typically have a good return, which is why people like to put their money there, right? Which is fine, especially if you can wait the long term. But if you wait the long term, your average rate of return was actually 5.89%. Actually that. Now, if you put your $100,000 there and you didn't ever look at it again, and then after 22 years you saw and you had $261,000 in your account, would you be upset? Maybe. You might be like, 22 years, I only gained $160,000? Jesus Christ. You might think that, but it's not, again, not every account is going to do all the best stuff. It's going to be absolutely amazing, right? So you have to understand the average rate of returns. I'm going to show you guys indexing as well. Only because we talked about indexing before. So in the case of indexing, you also still need to understand the average rate of return as well. All right, because it does matter too. Now, in this indexing example, we've got a floor at 0.75%. Not all index accounts have floors above 0%. Most of them just have a floor at 0%, meaning the lowest you can drop. But some of them, very few, have floors above that. And the reason why I like this example is because if it has a floor above 0%, that means you're earning money in a negative year. But if the stock market if it typically has a floor above 0%, it's also likely going to have a cap. This one has a cap of 13%, meaning the most you can make in any year is 13% as well. Now, with that being said, I like this example just because of that, but most indexing accounts don't have a floor and don't have a cap, or the floor is 0% and the cap is unlimited. So even with a cap, you still have a better average rate of return in these accounts than you would have directly in the SP 500 if you're mirroring the SP 500 with your indexing strategy. Now, the reason why is because you never have to try and recover from actually having your money directly being lost. You never have to recover. That's the difference, right? Let's say in 2003, you've got a buddy in the SP 500. He's like, bro, I just made 26% in my investments this year. And he's like, how much did you make? And you're like 13. He's like, bro, you have to get over here in the SP 500. Like, stop doing those indexing strategies. That's not doing you any good justice. He's like, well, why would I do that when I got $115,000 and you got $75,000? And that's just because he never had to worry about that loss. Now, here's the other part of that. You should be properly blending this, because why not get or participate in these 26%, 29%, 28% years? And again, like, not all indexing accounts have this floor or this cap either. So, in these years, you could have gotten 26% if this was like the New York Stock Exchange, for example, or the JP Morgan, for example, right? You could have actually gotten that. But again, having a good blend and balance is great. If you got $200,000 and you put $100,000 into each, hey, you're going to end up a very happy person. You're going to end up a very happy person when you take into account both of these. So understand the rates of returns when it comes to the accounts. Now, also, you want to generally separate these by the type of accounts, or the class of accounts. As an example, don't look at comparing your Roth IRA's rate of return against like a high yield savings account rate of return to say, you know what, I don't need high yield savings accounts. Compare them by their class, by their category. So when it comes to high yield savings accounts, compare them against, mutual funds or like the lower risk mutual funds or CDs, right? Bonds. Compare them against that. When it comes to retirement accounts, compare them against retirement accounts. So you've got pensions, annuities, you got IRAs and 401ks. When it comes to indexing accounts, you compare them against IULs or fixed index annuities, things like that, right? Compare them against each other. You can even compare IULs against retirement accounts if you'd like to, but just compare them so that way you also understand which ones are going to be best for you. And then taxation. We had a whole day about taxes already. So when it comes to taxes, well, you have to pay high tax on it later on, right? The whole goal is to have a tax-free retirement. That's the biggest goal. So that way you don't pay tax, you don't have to worry about taxes in retirement. Again, if you are in a 0% tax bracket, you will not have to worry about taxes. You don't care about taxes. You don't care how high taxes taxes actually rise. You don't truly care because the fact that you don't have to worry about paying taxes on that income. You have to keep all of that money. All right. Now, when it comes to sales tax and like property taxes and all the rest of that crap, then yeah, that's a different story. But I'm talking about actually paying taxes to the IRS every year, right? Or taxes on your income taxes. So those are the 4 questions, the 4 ways to dissect all of your accounts to check to see which accounts don't have what. So with this being said, that's where you want to take into account and ask yourself these 4 questions for each of your accounts. That's what you want to take into account. Ask yourself a question for each of these accounts. As an example, you ask yourself 401k. All right, my 401k, is it liquid? No, it's not liquid. Is it safe? No, it's not safe. Does it have a great rate of return? It might not. Let's say you got 11%. That's actually pretty decently average. When we look at let's say average on a performance of accounts, right? On certain mutual funds, small cap stocks, 12.3%, large cap stocks, 10.1, government bonds, 5, and then treasury bills, 3.5. So if you're sitting at like 11, 12% in a 401k, okay, cool. I would say, yeah, sure. You've got good rates of return, right? And then taxation. Will you pay high tax on it later? Yes, you will. So it's not favorable. So you've only got 1 out of 4 checks. Only got 1 out of 4 checks, and that's your 401k. The more that you have control over your accounts, and the more, obviously, like this means the more you have control over your accounts. The more you have control over accounts and the more checks, the more that you should have that, like, prioritize that as a part of your plan, right? If it only has 1 check, doesn't mean that you should avoid it completely. No, because that 1 check could be the one thing that takes care of the balance of the rest of them, right? Maybe the rest of your accounts that you currently have don't have a good rate of return, for example. Then having that 1 account for a good rate of return might be very helpful. Then we've got, let's say Roth IRA. Say Roth IRA. All right, is it liquid? No, it's not liquid. You can't put money in and take money out whenever you want to without penalty. As an example, you cannot retire on the account whenever you want to. Is it safe? No, it's directly in the market. Does it have a good rate of return? Hopefully so. I mean, that's your Roth IRA that you decide to open up. Hopefully you decide to open it up. And then also taxation. We have to pay high tax on it later. No, you will not. So it is favorable. So you got 2 out of the 4 checks. That's great. That's much better than just 1, because now you can use that, right? Instead, since your rate of return for your Roth IRA is also good and favorable taxation, you don't have to use a 401k. Now, should you still use a 401k? Should you still get the free money if they match? Yeah, sure. But if you got a Roth IRA and you're trying to prioritize your financial foundation, prioritize your Roth IRA better, because you're going to have a more favorable account. All right. Let's come on back and check another one. Another one that we can have, IUL. Another one that we can have is IULs. You can check IULs. Now, IULs are literally laser funds. That's what they are actually also called. They have liquidity. You can put money in and take money out whenever you want to. There's no penalty. They are safe. They're not directly invested in the market. Rate of return, let's say, I mean, you might get 6 to 12% returns. You can get higher, you can get lower, but again, you have no loss, right? It's safe. So the rate of return, you could say, yeah, we can go X/check, up to you, right? X/check. The fact of the growth is the fact that it can grow while you're still taking money out. That's the biggest point, right? You can still take money out and that money continues to grow for you. You can borrow money and that money continues to grow for you. And then taxation, we have to pay high tax on it later. You will not, so it is favorable. So again, it has all 4 checks with that. So that's definitely an account that you want to prioritize. And then lastly, let's do one like high yield savings accounts. Is it liquid? Yes. Is it safe? Yes. You can put money in, take money out whenever you want to. There's no penalty, and it's held with a bank, right? The rate of return isn't like as great as like your investment strategies, right? That I just showed you, or like IUL, insurance growth, but it is pretty decent for its own class. Right? Of savings accounts. It is pretty decent. 4 or 5%, depending on the market. Then yeah, it is decent for its own class. And then taxation, we have to pay high tax on it later. You'll have to pay taxes every year as it grows. So not favorable, but 3 out of 4 is great. So that's also for sure one that you want to have in your strategy as you're growing your income, your wealth and your financial foundation. So that's how to check for these. That's how to check for all of the downsides and benefits to that. All right. Now, when it comes to all the different types of accounts that you could potentially have, I've got a nice little shortcut that I will also post in the description below. But when it comes to all of these, here is a nice little shortcut for all the benefits. So that way, as you start to ask yourself the 4 questions, questions of, what does my account have? Does it have liquidity? Is it safe? Things like that. You can revert back to this shortcut and say, oh, okay, let me grab this. Let me ask someone about this. Now, all of these are not retirement accounts, right? Brokerage accounts are not retirement accounts. IULs are not retirement accounts. Social Security income is not retirement income, right? But these are definitely some that can help you with getting the retirement income that you'd like. So as an example, 401k, obviously employer matching contributions, right? Using somebody else's for your money for your retirement, which can be great. It can't hurt you more on the long term for taxes, but that just depends. Obviously, sit down with someone to learn much more about that, about if it will hurt you more for taxes, especially when it comes to RMDs. Roth 401ks, if you can have a Roth 401k, great, because you get tax-free growth as well, with the fact that you can put a lot more money into your 401ks than you can IRAs, right? With IRAs, though, you have ownership of your retirement funds. Traditional IRAs are going to be taxed later, though, so you're going to pay tax on it later, like a 401k. And then Roth IRAs, you've got tax-free growth and withdrawals in retirement, so you don't have to worry about the money growing. You don't have to worry about that money getting taxed later, right? Again, so that's if you're looking for if you need an account that provides favorable tax treatment, Roth IRAs are one of those. Now, brokerage accounts are not retirement accounts. However, they do provide complete flexibility with no contribution limits or withdrawal restrictions. They are liquid. You can put money in, take money out whenever you want to. There's no penalty. So they are liquid. So that's good. All right. So if you're looking for a liquid account, you can use brokerage accounts. Now, they are not safe, right? They are not in the market. They are not safe. They are in the market. Different types of brokerage accounts that you can have set up different mutual funds or whatever the case is. You can set up all types of brokerage accounts, but I would use these as a tool to grow your wealth. And then to grow money. And then you can systematically take that money and protect it into different indexing strategies if you like to, things like that, right? IULs have market linked growth, right? So you mirror the market instead of being directly in the market. So you take no downside risk. Now, this is not an investment account. However, people do use it as a strategy for retirement, right? Because of the fact that you can still get those market-like returns with no losses, guaranteed no losses, while also still taking that money and having it be liquid. As I already showed you, IULs are the definition of laser funds. All right, so you have all 4 of those characteristics with that. Now, does that mean that that's the only account that you should have? No, not by far. This is why I have this here. But as an example, if you could get 12% in a Roth IRA and you're getting, maybe 8% on average every year in your IUL, then yeah, it makes sense to have a combination of both of these as well. Plus, having both of these in retirement will make sure that, one, you have a fully tax-free retirement as long as these are your only 2 accounts, or you don't have any other traditional style accounts, right, or tax later accounts. Then you have fully tax-free income in retirement. And then also you take no losses. I'm going to show you a strategy for making the best out of these types of accounts. 401ks are market-based accounts and market-linked accounts or market-protected accounts. You got FIAs. These are fixed index annuities. There's all types of annuities, but fixed index annuities specifically provide guaranteed lifetime income, no losses to the market. It is another indexing strategy, but this is like your own private pension where you can have lifetime income guaranteed, just like a pension, except it can potentially increase with the market growth as well, depending on like which companies and products you get. Then you've got pensions. Now, pensions also guarantee monthly income for life. If you can get a pension from a job, that's great. Now, oftentimes they will adjust it for COLA, which is really good. Cost of living allowance or changes as well. So that's really good for a pension if you can get a pension. But depending on the pension, you'll likely have to pay tax on it because most pensions are taxed later, as I have taught you guys before. Then you've also got Social Security income, which is, once again, not a Social Security, which is not a retirement account, but it does provide for inflation protection, which is necessary, right? And it will provide you that income as long as you live. Now, if your Social Security income is your only taxable income in retirement, you don't have to pay tax on it. But let's say that you've got a 401k coming in as well, and you're taking money out of your 401k. Maybe you also got a traditional IRA and a pension. Let's say you got 401k, traditional IRA, and a pension, and you're taking money out. There are certain minimums for Social Security income before that income gets taxed. As an example, and again, I'm going to speak off the top of my head here. Actually, I don't want to speak off the top of my head. I want to be fully correct. There we go. All right. Beautiful. All right. So if you're filing single, head of household, widow or widower with $25,000 to $34,000 in income of taxable income, total taxable income, right? Then 50% of your Social Security income can be taxed. All right. If you're filing separately, it's the same thing. And if you're filing jointly, it's $32,000 or $44,000 of income will be taxed at 50%. 50% of it will be taxed. As an example, if you are bringing in $40,000 a year from your 401k, or let's say you're bringing in $20,000 a year from your 401k, $20,000 a year from your Social Security income, that's a total of $40,000. Then of that $20,000 of Social Security income, 50% of it will be taxed at your regular tax rate. All right. So based on you, that's something that you just need to go and look and understand for yourself for however old you are. I'm not going to read off all of them, right? I mean, there's only like a few, but with that being said, that's where you need to understand you could be in a favorable tax situation or you could not be in a favorable tax situation, but you need to know for yourself. So check that because your Social Security income can be taxed depending on how much income you're taking from your tax later or your tax deferred accounts. But other than that, if you want a tax-free retirement, the only way to have a tax-free retirement is to have your money in these Roth accounts, IULs, or fixed index annuities. It's the only way. So that way you can elect to take out Social Security income and not have to worry about it. You can take out $500,000 a year if you want to from your Roth accounts and your IUL, your fixed index annuities, and take out, your Social Security income and you'd be fine. All right. So that's the benefits of these. Drawbacks, obviously 401ks, IRAs, brokerage accounts are directly in the market, right? Brokerage accounts are the only ones of these that are liquid. Neither of the traditional accounts provide a favorable tax situation for you. Favorable taxable situation for you. So that means you don't have to pay taxes later on. But in the Roth accounts, you will not have to pay taxes in the future. On taxes and brokerage accounts, you have to pay taxes every year on the growth. So not great, right? When it comes to IULs, it doesn't have any downsides to those four, but natural downsides. They're difficult to build. A lot of people don't know how to build them. A lot of people work for their companies, so they're going to build them based on their company instead of based on your needs. They have to be particularly structured, and a lot of people mess that up. They mess it up completely. I mean, I've already just in working in this industry alone. I mean, like 401ks, IRAs, easy, very simple to build, very simple to start, very simple to open. Brokerage accounts, very simple to just start one. IULs, no. I have seen so many people with IULs that I've sat down with when I'm looking at their overall plan and they happen to have an IUL. I'm like, oh God. I mean, like I almost have a heart attack sometimes because of how bad it is. It's like their agent, whoever sold it to them, was selling it to them for their own commission purposes. Was selling it to them for like didn't really know how to build it, didn't understand the difference between that benefit growth, didn't understand the difference between CVAT and GPT, didn't understand anything. They also are with trash companies, trash insurers who put like 5% caps on 5% caps on the accounts, which is crazy because they'll have 5% caps, 0% floors. So like the most you can make is 5%, which I can bet for the most part, they're probably getting 5% every year, especially when I look at it. But some of them still don't even get 5% growth. They get like 2%. Bad. A lot of them are bad. A lot of the people who built these up are bad, excuse me. But IULs can be great depending on if you've got somebody that's experienced with building these up. Fixed index annuities. Most people don't even know anything about a fixed index annuity, and that is sad, right? If you think if you think 401k, think Roth IRA. That's a fixed index annuity to a pension. It's yours. You have control over it. It's the same benefit, right? Guaranteed lifetime income, guaranteed monthly income, same benefit. Fixed index annuities just are still growing like the market, but not in the market, where pensions were growing at a fixed rate, right? Typically pensions grow at a fixed rate. And then also in a fixed index annuity, your withdrawals can increase every year with the market. So that's also really cool. Now, as far as the downsides, this does not have liquidity. A fixed index annuity does not have liquidity. So you cannot put money in, take money out whenever you want to. Unfortunately, it is a retirement account, just like 401k and Roth IRA. So the three of these are retirement accounts. So they're not liquid. You cannot start taking retirement on the account until you are at least 59 and a half. Now, can you take money from these accounts? Yeah, you can take some money from those accounts through loans, or some fixed index annuities have certain free amounts that you can take out. As far as pensions, obviously for the most part, pensions are something that you basically have to get lucky with. But the downside to it is the fact that it is taxed later as well, meaning that you have to pay tax on the money later, which if you are forced to have a pension, and you take that income out through tax later, the downside is you're going to have to pay tax on it. You're not going to be able to have a tax-free retirement. Now, upon retiring from your job or your career, you have two choices for your pension. Start taking lifetime income, or take a lump sum of all of your money in the account. I highly recommend taking that lump sum and putting it into a fixed index annuity, right? Pensions are fixed index annuities fixed index annuities are types of pensions. So you can roll over the money directly. I think I've even taught you guys about this before. I'll briefly show you guys again here shortly. But I highly recommend rolling over your pension into a fixed index annuity and then taking your lifetime income, only because it's going to stretch your money much better. And then your money is going to be able to grow, mirroring the market as you continue to take out money. Plus, a lot of fixed index annuities give you certain styles of like living benefits or like care benefits in the case that like you need confined care, you need to go, you have like some sort of long-term care situation. They'll also provide that for you as well. And also it's protected from like the whole Medicaid thing too. Plus, you can also choose to pay the taxes on that income upon rolling it over if you like to do like a Roth conversion from your pension to a Roth fixed index annuity, because you can have Roth and traditional. And then Social Security income, the downside is that it can be taxed as well. And then also is that it really does have great rates of return. So those are some of the downside cities. 2 key strategies that I want to show you guys before we get out of here. And then if you want, we can dive much deeper into, these strategies later on, maybe in next episode, if you guys would like. But one strategy I want to show you is the hierarchy of retirement accounts. So the bottom that you have are employer contributed. So you've got 401ks, employer contributed or government defined. So we got 401ks, 403bs. All right, this is the bottom of the hierarchy of retirement accounts. Then next up, we've got individually owned. Individually owned accounts, which are IRAs, Roth IRAs. And then the highest in the hierarchy are going to be your annuities, your annuity products, annuities, right? So annuities include annuities and pensions, right? So I'll just do and pensions. So this is your hierarchy of retirement accounts. These are only 3 types of retirement accounts. So are IULs retirement accounts? No. Are brokerage accounts retirement accounts? No. Are mutual funds retirement accounts? No. Social Security retirement accounts? No. Medicare, Medicaid? No. I don't know if I'm missing some, but if I miss some, if it's not right here, then no. So these are the 3 types of retirement accounts that you have: employer contributed, individually owned, annuities. Now, you can do rollovers for any of these accounts, meaning that you can, for free, take money from one account and move it to another one so that you can get the benefits of that other one. So as an example, let's say you're working, you got your 401k. Before I give that example, the only thing is you have to roll them over up or across. You cannot go down. So you can roll over employer contributed to individually owned or to annuities and pensions. You can roll individually owned to annuities and pensions, and that's it. Or you can roll 401ks into 401ks, IRAs to IRAs, or annuities and pensions into annuities and pensions. So when it comes to this, as an example, let's say you got your 401k, maybe you got an old 401k, that you're like, okay, I'm leaving this job. I've got my 401k here, and this other job is giving me a Roth IRA. You can do a Roth conversion on that 401k into a Roth IRA if you want to. Well, that often times happen. Most of the time, not, especially if the company doesn't really have somebody who's going to help you do that. They might just set you up a Roth IRA. So you could potentially roll it over into a traditional IRA instead. You could just roll your 401k into a traditional IRA. What I've seen oftentimes is that people will roll over their 401ks into a fixed index annuity because they can get the benefits of it growing with the market still, but without being directly in the market. So it still gets that market-like growth. And then also they can just set it there and forget it and just let it grow. And a lot of times these fixed index annuities will grow much better than the rest of these retirement products anyway. So you get that benefit. So they can just roll over their 401k directly here. If it's owed, right? You can't do this while you're working there unless they specifically allow you to do in-service distributions, ISDs, right? Then you've got let's say Roth IRAs, right? Now let's say you got a Roth IRA and you are your Roth IRA hasn't been growing as well as you like to, or you want to get it out of the market. The market looks like it's going to be really risky, or maybe the market's going to be going down soon. Maybe you don't like the company that you're with, or whatever the case is. Can you roll this over to another Roth IRA? Yep. Can you roll it over into a fixed index annuity or another annuity or whatever and turn it into your own pension? Yeah, you could do that because your Roth IRA won't provide you lifetime income. But people want pensions because it provides lifetime income. And that's exactly what annuities and pensions do. They provide lifetime income. So if you roll over your Roth IRA into an annuity, you can get a lifetime income, right? Then let's say that you've got your pension from your job. Let's say you got your pension from your job, right? And you're retiring and you're about to leave and you're like, okay, I want to make my money last as long as possible. I'm going to roll over my pension to an annuity or to a fixed index annuity. All right. You can roll over across, but you can never roll over down. So that's one strategy. Next strategy, let's say that in that, like you are thinking of retirement, right? And you've got maybe you've got your 401k, right? Your 401k has done this while you've been, age 18 through 65. If I move this over where this is now 65 years old to 100, would you want this being your retirement account? Why you need to take money out? No, because when the market is down, you don't want to take money out of your account when the market is down. All you're going to do is just lock in those losses. Same thing here. You're going to lock in those losses. It's going to make it even more difficult to recover. Now, am I saying completely take your money out of the market? No. Well, what does happen whenever people generally start to reach their retirement age? They bring all their accounts down to lower risk accounts. So that way they don't take as much risk. So they might drop their accounts down like 1 or 2%, right? And at this point, their retirement accounts become very stale and they don't really grow. And this is why I love working with my securities partners, because we can do really great stuff. So let's say now it's about here, right? Or maybe like this. You're not going to take much risk and you can guarantee that your money's going to be there. But now your money's not really growing for you as you're taking money out. So instead of doing that, I opt to say, hey, why not have an indexing strategy where you take no losses to the market? Where you take no losses to the market, where if you are 65, 100, and let's say the stock market is up, you're taking your income this year from your market-based account, but if the market is down, you don't take money from there. You just take money from your index account. Maybe your FIA, maybe your IUL. You take money from this one, and this allows you to, if you want to, maintain your higher levels of growth or risk. You don't have to specifically remove your account from the growth. So if you've got both a good balance of, let's say 401k or IRAs, and then over here, fixed index annuities, which I highly recommend, or IULs. Again, you need to work with a trust professional. You've got the two of these, you start to have a much better blend and you can prolong your retirement accounts. But that's through having proper planning ahead of time to make sure that you've got all the right things set up. So that way you can still get all this growth. I know a lot of things that people do. I've got one of my partners in crypto who he does this. He lets his money grow, and when it has a really, really, really good return, he has a minimum return. He drops it into his indexing strategy to now get his own growth. And he continues to do that. Tons of strategies to be able to do this, but this will prolong your accounts. I have some clients that sit down and they're like, hey, Charming, yeah, I don't want my money in the market at all. Actually, I'm like, okay, cool. Let me talk to you about the benefits and the losses of that. And, they make their own decisions. But from that, this is another strategy, just like this, right? Understanding how to roll over your accounts and how you can do them for free. Understanding the types of safety, right? We talked about a whole lot of stuff today. And if you guys want any other education, or if you want me to deep dive more on any of these topics, then let me know in the comments and I will deep dive on any of those topics, those accounts, or anything for you. But after this, we shall return to our regularly scheduled topics, growing your mindset and your development, your growth, and so on as well. So I do look forward to helping you guys more with all of this stuff. But with all of that being said, if you got anything, let me know in the comments down below. It has been a pleasure to serve you guys today and to help you out. With that being said, though, I hope you guys have a beautiful, blessed week, and I will see you guys Wednesday morning. Oh, also sorry that I was gone the last Wednesday and Friday. Wednesday last week, I had to take my dog to the hospital, and Friday morning I had to run a meeting for my company. So I'm back here today. And if you want to follow us anywhere else, definitely check out our LinkedIn, Instagram, or anything like that, or our TikTok. So have a beautiful day, and I'll see you guys later.